Cat keeps crying after owner passes away. Then the vet reads its collar and says, "Oh my God!" Samantha always thought she was more of a dog person. The wagging tails, the playful energy, it was all so appealing. But then there was Oliver, a sleek, midnight black cat with a coat that shimmered like velvet, eyes as green as a spring meadow, and a personality that defied typical feline aloofness. She found him as a kitten, abandoned in an alley one rainy night. From that moment on, he was hers. Oliver was more than just a pet. He was her companion, her confidant. Samantha's life, a whirlwind of late-night study sessions and freelance work, was filled with the quiet purring of her cat, a comfort in the chaos. But then Samantha got sick. It started off as a cough. Then it became something more. A lingering fatigue that crept up on her, stealing her strength day by day. Doctors' visits became routine, and the word terminal was whispered in hushed tones. Samantha, always pragmatic, prepared for the inevitable, making sure that everything was in place for her beloved Oliver. The day came sooner than expected. She was surrounded by her closest friends and family, but her eyes were fixed on one thing. Her cat, curled up at the foot of her bed, staring at her as if trying to understand. The love between them was palpable. After her passing, it was her sister, Emily, who took responsibility for Oliver. Emily had never been particularly fond of cats, but the bond between Samantha and Oliver was undeniable, and she promised her sister she would take care of him. At first, Oliver was quiet, perhaps confused, but that soon changed. Every night, he would sit by the window, crying softly into the dark. His cries were low, mournful, and persistent. Emily tried everything to comfort him. New toys, different food, even a second cat, but nothing helped. Oliver's grief was palpable, and his cries only grew louder with each passing day. One particularly sleepless night, Emily had enough. She took Oliver to the vet, hoping that the professional might have some advice on how to calm the grieving cat. As soon as they walked into the clinic, Oliver began to wail even more, his cries echoing in the sterile space. The vet, Dr. Harris, was kind, though his face was drawn with concern. He knelt down beside Oliver, who was now pawing at the cage, desperate to escape. "What's the matter with him?" Emily asked, her voice tinged with frustration. Dr. Harris studied the cat for a moment, scratching under his chin. "It's not unusual for pets to grieve, especially when they've lost a beloved owner. But this is different. He's in distress, like he's waiting for something." Emily was about to respond when Dr. Harris paused. His eyes shifted to the collar around Oliver's neck. He read the small engraved plate attached to it, his brows furrowing with confusion. Then his face went pale, and his hands trembled slightly as he reached for the collar. Emily raised an eyebrow. "What's wrong?" Dr. Harris stared at her in disbelief. This can't be. The name on the collar, it says, Samantha." Emily frowned, her confusion growing. "Well, of course, that's her name. She put that collar on him when she first got him." "No, that's not it," Dr. Harris whispered, almost to himself. He carefully removed the collar from Oliver's neck and turned it over. Etched into the back was something Emily had never seen. A series of numbers, coordinates. "I've never seen anything like this before," the vet continued. "These aren't just any numbers. These are GPS coordinates." Emily's heart skipped a beat. She leaned in closer. "Coordinates to where?" Dr. Harris paused again, his fingers trembling as he tapped them into his phone. The result came up almost immediately. "These are coordinates to a small, isolated cabin upstate, a place where no one would normally go. And wait, there's more." He read further. "The address here, it's in your sister's name, Emily." Emily's breath caught in her throat. "What? That's impossible. I've never been there before." "I don't." Dr. Harris's eyes widened. "It seems like this collar, this was made for a very specific purpose. It might even be a tracking device, and someone set this up long before your sister's passing." Emily couldn't speak. It didn't make sense. Was it possible? Had Samantha known something no one else did? She thought back to the days leading up to her sister's death. How she had seemed to be preparing for something. But what? The vet, clearly disturbed, handed the collar back to Emily, his voice shaky. If I were you, I'd go there. Now. That night, Emily drove to the cabin. As she reached the coordinates, the house loomed ahead, a small, run-down structure surrounded by trees. Inside, the air was thick with dust and silence, except for the faint hum of a machine in the corner. On the table, there was a single note, written in her sister's handwriting. To whoever finds this, Oliver is more than just a cat. He's a part of something larger. You'll understand when the time comes. I'm sorry. Please protect him. The piece of paper fluttered in the wind as Emily stared at it, unsure of how to process it. And in that moment, she heard a faint sound from behind her. Oliver, sitting quietly, staring at something unseen, his cries long forgotten. Whatever Samantha had left behind, whatever secret had been hidden in Oliver's collar, was only the beginning.